Hello, my name is Ryan Early. I'm a professor in the Department of Biological Sciences at the University of Alabama. Alex Waits joined my lab as a freshman and has conducted an independent research experiment. And so I've had the great fortune of watching her develop as a scientist and watch as she masters the process of scientific inquiry. In my lab, she studies the molecular mechanisms underlying sex change in animals. And today, I think she's going to be talking to you about one of her other passions, which is the stigma associated with mental illness. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Alex Waits.
If you look at me, I look like every normal college student that goes to UA. But there's one thing that you can't see by just looking at me and passing me on the sidewalk, and that is that I have a mental illness. And specifically, I have generalized anxiety disorder and minor depression. And this may seem to throw some of you. How can someone who has an anxiety disorder be up in front of a room full of people giving a talk? And how can someone who has depression be kind of happy and upbeat? But these are the stereotypes that we've created about mental illness in our popular culture and media that aren't true. And in fact, mental illness is much more common in our society than we actually think. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 1 in 4 people between the ages of 18 and 24 have some form of mental illness. So think about that. 25% of the people in this room have some form of mental illness, whether that be an anxiety disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, PTSD, OCD, just to name a few. And the other part about mental illness in college is that by the age of 24, 75% of people who have mental illness will develop their illness. And that makes sense when we think about what the environment of college is. It is constant stress, both academically and socially. We are always worrying about our future and what's to come. And for many of us, it's the first time that we are away from the support system that we've had our entire lives. So even though college is a beautiful environment and a great place to learn, it's also the soil that develops a lot of these mental illnesses. However, this isn't an issue because at UA we have so many resources that people can go and seek help. We have the Counseling Center, the Student Health Center, the Women's Resource Center, just to name a few. But the problem comes when people aren't using those resources. Around 40% of the people in college won't seek help for their mental illness. And that may not seem like a lot, but we need to extend that more to UA's population. So UA has about 35,000 students. So 1/4 would be about 8,700 students. And if we do the 40% that don't seek help, that's 3,500 students. 3,500 students will not seek help for their mental illness, despite there being multiple resources on this campus that they can go seek help. And even just a small handful of people not seeking help for their illness is an issue, but having almost thousands not being able to get help for what they are suffering through is a very big problem. So why aren't college students going to seek help? It makes sense that if you have mental illness that you would go seek help. Just like if you had the flu or the cold, you would go to a doctor and get medicine to feel better. Or if you had a broken leg, you would go to the hospital in order to feel better and be able to go through your daily life. But with mental illness, again, 40% don't seek help. So why is that? And it's because of this image of mental health and mental illness that we have in our popular culture. Think about all the images on mental health that you see in your daily life. It's never a positive or even a neutral. It's always a negative. It's either used as the butt of jokes or tied with almost criminal behavior. You have the psychotic killer who may be schizophrenic or dissociative identity. And even when mental illness isn't used as a trope, it's often portrayed in either a negative light or just an incorrect way, especially when it comes to treatment. And so all of this kind of false ideas and these stereotypes about mental illness all get pushed into this almost like big ball of just negative ideas. And so, in fact, stigma is the number one reason why college students don't seek help for mental illness. And not only is it because of popular culture and media, but it's also the ideas of mental illness that we have in our own lives. if you don't have a mental illness, think about all the times that it's come up in conversation. And a lot of times it never has. That's because mental illness is such a taboo and such a touchy subject in our society that no one ever really wants to talk about it. And if we do, it's whispered and behind closed doors, and we feel pity on them, but in the same light, we don't want to associate with them because what if they snap? What if they commit a crime or end up in a mental hospital? But the stigma isn't true for so many people with mental illness. As you can see up here, I'm presenting this talk, and I don't appear to have what anxiety or depression would be. But we have these ideas, and it's hurting so many of the people that have mental illness because they're so afraid to go and seek help and to say out loud that they have an illness. And so that's the reason why I'm up here today, is I want to erase the stigma that we have in society and on our campus. And I want to create this dialogue of talking about mental illness. Even if you don't have a mental illness or don't know someone with it, being able to talk about it openly creates this sort of safer environment for people who have a mental illness to feel safer. And I've talked to so many people already with it, and I've actually heard so many stories from people who I had no idea had a mental illness, but after talking to them, they told me that they had anxiety too, or they also had depression. And so based on my own experiences, I want to be able to use my story as a stepping stone for many in order to kind of create this safer and more talked about environment for mental illness. So in order to do that, we have to go back to high school. And as you can see, that's myself senior year, and I look awkward and all that. And if you can see at the very bottom, I'm holding an award. And this was a common thing for me in high school. I was very smart, and it was a mix of just pure talent and wanting to get into a good college and university. And so by about sophomore year, I gained the label of the smart girl, which is pretty nice, but it soon became the point of many, as I was the top student, to be compared to all the time. And if I would constantly get asked how I did on tests and what I was doing in classes, and if I didn't get a high A, I was made the butt of jokes. And I was at competitive high school, I always had that risk of losing that position as a smart girl. And this made me develop a sort of perfectionist tendency with my grades, that if I wasn't always getting hundreds or doing top of my class, then something was wrong with me. And I would start getting nervous and start almost having these breakdowns because if I wasn't doing as well as I thought I was supposed to. And looking back on it, I realized that this was the beginnings of my anxiety disorder. But at the time, I just thought it was normal high school stress. But it's not normal when I fear that losing this label of the smart girl would make me lose friends and make me the laughingstock of my high school. And so I got through it, and once I got to college, I was like, college is more fun, it's more open. This will all go away, and I won't be stressing out anymore. However, as a lot of us know, college is not as easy as high school, and it became a lot worse before it got better. I wasn't doing, top in all my classes. You're not supposed to in college. But this perfectionist tendency carried on from high school to the point where I started having actual breakdowns before getting tests back because I was so afraid of getting a B or a C. And I was almost constantly on edge and stressed because I was so worried about having that 4.0 GPA and being, the perfect student. And soon this anxiety bled into my social life. I started constantly worrying about what I was doing with friends, and if things I was saying were annoying, and having this fear of losing the people I had made these connections with. And it got to the point where I soon started having panic attacks my sophomore year. And then it actually got to the point where I started self-harming because I couldn't control the emotions that were inside me. And along with the self-harm came this idea of wanting to commit suicide. And although I never attempted suicide, I had this constant thought of just not wanting to exist. And it kind of all came together the spring of my sophomore year, where I had to leave a friend's place because I had a panic attack for absolutely no reason. And after I had gotten a friend to help me calm down, I realized that something was wrong, and if I just kept it going like this, it was going to get so much worse. So the next morning, I called the counseling center and set up an appointment. And as it says up there, it took me 2 years to go and actually get help, but I was able to get help. And so after a couple meetings, I was clinically diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and minor depression. And after a few more meetings, we realized that this couldn't be helped with just therapy because I have such a family history of anxiety and depression. So I went to a psychiatrist at the health center and started taking medication for my anxiety. And that was about a year ago, and I have actually been really helped by going to seek help. And it hasn't been an easy journey at all. Like, if you ask my friends, I've had nights where I've had complete breakdowns. And I've had nights where I've relapsed and self-harm. And there have been nights where I've just barely wanted to get out of bed and go to class. But I keep pushing myself. I know that this is a part of me, but I don't have to let it control me. And so every day I'm able to get up and deal with my mental illness and go to class and be a normal college student and be able to have fun with my last few years of college before going out into the real world. And so I want my story to inspire people. For those of you that have mental illness in the audience, no matter where you are in your journey of health, whether you haven't taken that first step or you're in your third or fourth year of therapy, know that it's a constant process, but every day you get better. And if you don't have mental illness, you may know someone, or you don't actually know anyone with mental illness, you can talk about it and create this safe environment. Promote the health center, the counseling center, and just make it more open. And so I want to end my speech by saying that to everyone here, I'm so proud of you. If you're fighting what I'm fighting, it's so hard sometimes to get through your everyday. But I'm proud of you for waking up today and going to school, going to class, coming here, and being able to make it and make the best of your day. And you are incredibly brave for fighting these diseases that so many people stigmatize and think down upon because you have. And I know that it's really hard some days, but there's always a tomorrow. And so I want to end my speech by saying that I have mental illness, but mental illness does not have me. Thank you.